Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and here we are on the 21st day of January, 2020, and the impeachment trial in the Senate's beginning, and they're already starting to lie. So I don't know. It would just be nice if we could just all come together in this process and just look at the facts and make a decision, and leave out the hyperbole and all of the nonsense that isn't true, and just focus on the issue at hand. Did the guy do what they've already decided that he's guilty of what he did. The GAO's already decided the other day that it was a crime. So how about we just all get on the same page here and decide what to do about all this? We're either going to evict him from that place, or we're going to let him stay until, the election. And maybe we'll deal with it that way. But if they have any integrity at all, they're not going to interfere with this process. So if they interfere, then they don't have any integrity. And that's kind of where we're at today. It's a Tuesday, it's a Mars energy day. Passions are going to be high, or have the potential for being high. We have a 3 energy with the 21. And so we're looking at, catalytic energy there. But, it's what are we going to do with that? Are we going to build a new structure, a new foundation? We're in a 22 year. That's the cosmic builder, that soul level building that's going to take place. What are we going to manifest? I think that maybe this has all been about teaching us about what shouldn't happen, what shouldn't be, and figuring out what we want, what we really want, not what someone tells us that we want, based on their own, sense of grievance, because that's really what we have here. So we'll see where today goes. Let's take a look at the astrology here before we get started. Since we've been doing that, it seems to really impact the reading. So I'm glad that, we started doing that. Moon's in the 10th house of Sagittarius. Emotional need for adventure and independence may clash with being at work. So if you can figure out a way, because, there's some other work-related stuff here in the chart today. If you can figure out a way to combine, that adventuresome spirit with work, then I think you're going to do better. There could be some kind of new position on the horizon. So don't screw it up by not showing up. So, because you want to go play or something. Square it. Let's see. The sun, 11th house in Aquarius. Oh, wait, I'll go back. Moon is in semi-square with Mercury. So you're going to watch what you have to say today as well. Avoid impulse. The sun's in the 11th house of Aquarius, so unconventional relationships are possible. Square Uranus, though, again, you're going to be impulsive and you're going to do things your own way. And that does mesh with Sagittarius quite well, I know, because I'm married to one. Sextile Chiron, though you may be asked to heal others, and that's where, the tactless Sagittarian and the tactless Mars may prove challenging. So you're going to have to really think. If someone needs your support, you're going to have to really choose compassion. So hang on a sec. I just dropped my cards. I dropped some of them. Well, my goodness, I dropped a bunch. It's the first time I've done that. Usually you take note of the card you drop, but there's like 10 of them. So I don't think we need to do that. We'll just keep shuffling. Anyway, Mercury's in the 12th house in Aquarius, unique ideas. There's some rebelling against tradition, that's the Aquarian. But here's the thing. You're going to have to deal with some inner reflection as well. Let's see, Venus, 12th house Pisces, still emotions may be in flux. But here's the other thing. Boundaries may be challenging as well. So keep all of that in perspective today. Let's see, did I do Mars? No, Mars, 9th house Sagittarius. Again, inspiring leader, but, you've got to keep your adventuresome side focused into something that's maybe a little more productive today, because Jupiter and square Venus and Mars, you may be impatient with others. So again, watch the mouth. 10th house Capricorn, here's where it is, the Jupiter is. Networking expands, and there's your career potential today. So again, don't mess up, something that could actually end up getting you a little more income, a little more status, a little more responsibility. Saturn in the 11th house Capricorn, we're still being careful on our selection of friends and associates. Some of those may end, especially if they're more cause-based, you know. Uh, Conjunct Pluto still occurring between Saturn and Pluto. Ambition, you know, is reflected in that. But use your leadership in a positive way. So again, you know, balancing Sagittarius and Aquarian energy, you know, could take you in a direction that's maybe self-defeating, I would say. So just be careful there. So, okay, now that we know the energies in the sky, what's going on there, you know, a lot of the, again, you know, fourth quadrant time again. So 10th, 11th, and 12th houses are involved. And so, you know, you can see that relationships are going to be challenged and maybe some are going to end right now. And because we're moving into something new. And so some of it may just need to drop away, especially the ones that are more, have more impulse control issues attached to them. So let's go ahead and take our first three cards and see what we have. If we need a fourth, we will. If not, we'll move on to the Elder Futhark rune and take that out of the bag, that, you know, whichever one is for today, whichever one's left in my hand. And then we'll create a geomancy rune to tie it all together. So let's go ahead and take our first three cards. And I'm going to take the 13th one each time, as you know, for randomness sake. So let's go and see what we have for today. Well, we have the Devil. 15th card of the major arcana. We're talking higher self energy there, believe it or not. Very positive card. Well, let's see. My shawl is in the way of my shuffling. It's like, why won't my cards shuffle? Oh, there goes another one on the floor. Where did it go? Well, it's the Five of Cups. So remember that one. See if that factors in anywhere. Well, we have the Nine of Wands. Wands is the fire element. 9 is about endings. So something has ended there. So far we have a major card. We have a fire element card toward the end of the suit. So I wonder what we're going to get next. Maybe we'll get another major. Yeah, death. Okay. So here's what we're going to do here. We're going to make the Nine of Wands our focal point here, and we're going to have the two major cards inform the sky and this whole experience. So let's go ahead and look at him first. And again, remember, we've been talking a lot about this demarcation line. It denotes, in my view anyway, what was and what is. Okay, so what is over with and what is now. And so whatever is going on here, the battle, you know, he's come out okay. He's a little bruised and battered. He's looking back furtively, isn't he? So you've got, let's see, you've got 8 swords behind him. So that you could think of that as a position of strength, but excuse me, it may not be all with him. And so he's kind of out there all by himself. Excuse me. What I do with my tea? Still dealing with the cold. Only it's the end of it, you know. So everything's still trying to come out and break up and all of that. So I did my nettle tincture, and I did a shot of nettle and elderberry and wild cherry bark tincture before I started. So hopefully that will take hold and I can stop coughing. And my stuffiness will go away. Nettle's amazing that way, by the way. But anyway, we're talking about this demarcation line between what was and what is. And this is the end of a struggle in a sense. but all is not necessarily right either. So if we're looking at, the most obvious influence of what's going on today, yesterday you had there was a march, a rally, or whatever you want to call it, in Virginia with a lot of guns and making statements that, we're not, sheriffs aren't going to enforce the law and all of that. Well, that's going to create their own, misery, I'm afraid, if they don't. But that's another issue for another day. But it's like it's the last vestiges of you're not going to tell me what to do, I'm going to decide my own fate. Well, okay, to a point. But then you sort of end up with this, don't you? It seems to me that if you're looking at the devil and death, you're looking at the choice to be a slave to ego or to transition into spirit. So whatever inner battle that we're facing here, there's a sense of either or, isn't there? And it could mean, the battle you're having with others. It could be that. But likely, we like to think, outside of ourselves all of the time. But one of the things, tarot and runes and whatnot, other kinds of divination, what it's stressing is that it all begins inside. We're all collectively projecting this experience that we're having together. But within that construct, we are projecting our own. Even if it's only our perceptions of what we're creating together, what we're co-creating together. And so involved in that is the choice of where are we going to place that focus? How are we going to see things? Are we going to see them with the sense of service to self, with a self-oriented focus? Or are we going to understand that we're part of the greater whole? And when you do that, then you have a more service to others focus. It's not that you don't think about yourself and your own needs, you do, but it's in context with the greater experience of the whole. You see yourself as part of that, as intrinsic to all of it. Everyone is the other side of self versus simply the other. So again, what is going to be your focus here? I think that this is describing an inner battle more so than a battle with other people. And, what of our will is going to pull us back into an area that was maybe filled with conflict, or, seeing people as the other instead of understanding your, the greater aspect of yourself with everyone else. So here we have a sixth energy with this. We have higher self energy, harmony, balance. And we're trying to find that balance, aren't we? Reminiscent of the magician who also is as above, so below with his hands, only he's holding a scroll to spirit, So the idea that he's receiving divine inspiration is what in order to manifest and his alchemical world, basically. But here, note the difference. The difference is he is the devil, this fellow here, our Baphomet fellow, our demon, the demon within. He's holding a torch in the left hand, in his receptive hand, down to the earth. So he's gathering his energy and his light and his strength from ego, is what he's doing. We have the two individuals here chained to the post, slaves to desire, slaves to instinct, slaves to ego. That's where the balance is there. It describes, and I'm going to draw this because I think that it would make sense. And I don't know what I did with my other piece of paper. Oh, there it is. Let me draw it on that. I always get a little one out that I fold up and use for the runes when I do the geomancy rune, and if I get a rune that I need to draw out. So let me show you what we have been getting. We've been getting the card Judgment, and so you see the angel Gabriel looking down from heaven, blowing his horn. He's got a little flag thing with a cross on it. And I want to show you what we're talking about and where the devil lies on this cross. And we need, and I'll show you where we need to be. So the cross is not a religious one. It's not a medical one. It is the vertical and horizontal axis of existence. And ideally, we need to either be in the center or slightly above. But when the devil card is in play, we're down at the bottom. We're down so low below the abyss line, because that's really what the horizontal line is. It's the abyss. It's another interpretation for that. It's not just horizontal polarity, but it's in terms of masculine, feminine, either or, that kind of thing. It's not just that. It's literally the abyss. And we can live below it in ego, or we can live above it, which is where we need to be living. We need to be right about here, where we're slightly weighted on spirit in terms of focus. But that's really what we're talking about here. Another day of this, I think. But this time looking at the transition between ego and then transmuting it into spirit. And that's what death is doing. We have, again, another 9 energy. 18 it reduces to 9. We see the king's dead on the ground. The queen's upset. We see the child down there, although the child might not be theirs, although it likely is. We see death riding in on his white steed. The beautiful white rose. But look at the synchronicity here. See if you can find it. You see it? Between the inverted rose and the inverted pentagram. With death, there's rebirth. Do we want to rebirth into ego, or do we want to rebirth into spirit? Now, the death this doesn't necessarily mean that we've died and now we're, coming back as something else. These are little transitions that we experience all of the time, every single day, if we pay attention to them. Where we shift from one perception to another, we learn a truth and we think, oh, okay, and so now we're going to go think something else. And in a sense, that's what we're doing here, only this is about our will, expression of will. And it's almost like he's looking back and saying, you know what, I dodged a bullet there. I was going in a strange direction, and now I'm going to transmute the ego, the strong ego, into spirit. Look over here. You see a typical theme in tarot are the 2 pillars. And as you can see through the 2 pillars, we have the sun rising, don't we? Well, I can't do that with my fingers. So we have the sun rising. Okay? So a dawn of a new day. Dawn of new perception. Because when we focus into form, that's really what's at work, is perception. As we create our experiences, we create our world, the vision of our world. It's all about perception. And we can transmute that any time when it becomes so ego-based that we can't see other people as the other side of self. So I think that, especially with what's going on today with the Senate trial beginning, Spirit's going to necessarily be there because it's not going to have a choice. To think that what is going on is a hoax is ridiculous. It's the necessary next step in this process of dealing with someone that is so corrupt that it's the only thing we can do now. And so if we've been struggling with how we feel about that, if we've been struggling with how we express those feelings, if we've been struggling trying to figure out, okay, is something bad happening to my guy? Or, gee, is anything responsible and based on justice going to happen to this guy? If you're struggling either or that way, I think that we've been experiencing a battle of wills here, externally from us, where you have one side that wants the truth to come out and the other side that does not want the truth to come out. But here's the thing. If someone came into your home and harmed you, stole your possessions, harmed your children, say, and then you had a group of people in a position of authority who decided, oh, we're not going to prosecute that guy. We're not going to prosecute him for coming in and harming your family, your children, taking your belongings. No, 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 no. He just didn't know what he was doing. He's just new at this. So he didn't know he wasn't supposed to do that. You know, he's our boss. He didn't know. That's what we have here, guys. That's what we have. And so, no wonder he's looking furtively back at all of this. It's like, well, I think I'm going to have to go my own way here. I'm going to have to step out from the crowd, and I'm going to have to see the truth for what it is. And, come join me, because that's where it is. I'm going to let go of my ego. And I'm going to let that drop away. I'm going to transmute that into spirit and allow for a new transition to take place and transformation to take place, brought by the light, basically, dawning again. That playtime is over, and we have to get down to business here. We have a very serious situation at hand in our country, and we have to deal with it. He's doing things on a daily basis that are illegal. He told, what was it, Rex Tillerson, he couldn't understand why he couldn't bribe people, that this country couldn't bribe other countries to do things. Well, you can't, and yet he still does it. UK has to do his bidding, or he's going to institute 25% tariff on them, which somehow or another he thinks results in money for us, enriching the American people. No, it's like, what you have to do, unfortunately, with him is everything he says, you have to think it's the opposite, that the opposite is true. I'm a stable genius. He's not at all, because he doesn't seem to be able to understand these things. So you have somebody who doesn't possess the skill set to be there, or the intellect to be there, or the ability to understand simple English. Everything's got to be in pictures and one page, and you can't tell him anything. No more threat briefings. They don't want to have open threat briefings because it upsets him. He doesn't agree, and then he goes and does things. You see what I'm saying? Can't have that. Our national security is at stake, and that's why we are where we are today. And if enough senators decide to break with the lunatic who's controlling them, maybe the right thing for our country will happen. But if they don't, and unfortunately that's what it looks like, they're going to need to stand up and, transmute their own ego. Whatever this is for them, are they compromised? Does he have something on them? Why would they destroy the country this way? Why would they not uphold their oath this way? You have to ask yourself that. And then you have to say, well, there's got to be a reason, and it isn't about upending the Constitution. It's about getting something, or you've been compromised by something. It's one of the two. But you're not thinking right. You're not thinking about the greater whole. You are removing yourself from the collective expression, right? And so, of course, we have Athala, the 24th rune of the Elder Futhark, the very last one. And yeah, it's a bind rune. It contains all the energies of the entire Elder Futhark. But it's about tradition. It's about the Akash. It's about our collective consciousness together. And about the tradition of the home, of our home, basically, of our collective home. So, in this case, they're talking about, what it's really talking about is, there's my pen. What it's really talking about is the Constitution, that is the blueprint for our country. And, that's there for a reason. It's there to guide us. It's there to guide our laws. It's there to guide our decisions when things go awry. And that's all that we're doing here is, what it says to do. Here you have Athala. So what you have here right away I'll explode this for you. You have Kenaz in all directions, the light of spirit, the torch. Again, we have a torch here. And unfortunately, he's just manifesting that light, that energy, he's gathering it basically from ego. But here it's from spirit. And we don't have it just once. We have it twice. So it's a complete spirit-based rune, okay? So we have it twice, don't we? We also have Gebo in this balanced energy exchange with others. So Othala, it makes Othala an extraordinarily powerful rune. There was a time where some rune masters were thinking that Dagaz should be, the last rune, and so they were switching them. And because Dagaz looks like a little bow tie, right? And it's the end of one phase and the beginning of another. So you could think of, your transition into, but to the next life as Dagaz in one sense, but Othala, I played around with that for a little while, and was thinking of Dagaz as the last one for quite a while. And then I decided, no, I think that the transition is into the awareness, not in terms of a new necessary life, maybe, but in terms of our awareness of who we are collectively to one another. You go from, thinking you're the individual, then transmuting into the awareness that you're not, that you're really part of the collective consciousness. And so I think that is the true transition of awareness, really. So maybe Dagaz moves you then into Othala. I don't know. But I don't think anymore that Dagaz is the actual last rune of the Elder Futhark. I do believe Othala is that. So what is really at hand today then, particularly, with what's going on with the Senate trial, we're basically having to look at who we are, aren't we? And whether we're having to do that from the individual perspective or from the individual in relationship to others, that's the focus of today. We have to think about not only what we think, but we have to step back and we have to look at the evidence, and we have to think about, when the evidence, you were talking about the evidence that was presented at the impeachment trial in the House. We're also talking about evidence from the Mueller report. You had Mr. Mueller say, oh, sure, I can indict the guy easily. When he leaves office, you bet, I can indict him just like that. Just like that. Why do you think he said that? It's because there are things in there that are saying that he's done something. So since they can't indict him now, supposedly, which I don't believe, that was just a decision made by some old men. That's all. And you know how that goes. The women never do well when old men make decisions, right? Neither do children. So you can extrapolate from that. The country isn't going to do well if old men make all the decisions. So, but basically what you have here is we have an awareness now that we have to either continue on the line of the individual or continue down the road of the collective. And if we don't take the road of the collective, I don't know. I think the 22 years suggesting that we will. So let's take a look and see what the Elder Futhark rune is going to tell, or not the Elder Futhark, but the Geomancy rune is going to tell us. Yesterday we had Kata Draconis, which we've been getting a lot lately. Oh, well, now we got Caput, Draconis. So the Draconi, well, I don't know. At least this is not the evil one today. But the Draconi are governed by the nodes of the moon. Kata, which we've been getting a lot of, is the endings. So that's the south node, and what you're talking about there is karma. And I always say this when I pull Kata or I pull Rubius or Carcer. Those are the three that geomancers of old, if they drew that one first, if they created that one first, they just destroy the readings. Too evil to continue. Silly man. No self-respecting witch would ever listen to that, so I won't. Here's Caput Draconis. It's beginnings. It's the present. It's a new direction. It's the future. Contained within it is, at least part of it anyway, is Vaya. The last three, Vaya is 4 single dots, and so you're talking about new direction there. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the future. We're talking about going in a new direction. And I think that the new direction is going to be one of unity, one of a collective understanding, one of collective engagement. The 22 year is so important this year. What are we going to build together? It's going to be a soul focus. So whatever we think we're going to do, trust me, it's going to be something else. Spirit's going to take over. Higher self's going to take over and push us in a direction that we need to go. We're in this time of ascension, and realistically, I mean, we can look at ascension a variety of different ways, right? We can think of it in terms of when the body expires, where are we going to go? We're going to come back here and reincarnate into this 3D experience, this third density, third dimension. What are we going to really do? The fourth density is really an astral one. And so the planet itself is ascending through that, and we're moving into the fifth density, basically, in terms of our awareness and our experience. Some will, come back to an Earth-like existence and do it again. Most, however, I believe we've reached a tipping point where most will not. So we will go on to other existences, and we're just we're ready for that. The population on the planet is now ready for that. We've had different moments in time where we were at that point, ascension points, and none of us were ready, or enough of us weren't ready. And so now, for the planet itself to ascend, because there has to be enough of us to do that and help it along. And so that's what we're doing. So if energies are disparate, if they're feeling like, you're just in this weird transition all the time, let it happen. Don't resist it. This is something that we all need to go through in terms of our own spiritual awareness of who we are and who we are to one another. This impeachment trial is an expression of that, where we have a chance to really take a look at what's really being said here and to focus on the truth and see what is actually happening. Laws are being broken. We can't have a president who does that. All right. You can't do that. You can't extort people. You can't try to bribe people. You can't shuffle the deck to get rid of everybody who's going to get in your way and tell you, no, sir, the law says this, and you can't do that. So off they go, off with their head, right? And that way, and oh my goodness, let's make sure, he only sees good tweets that are said about him, because he's going to get upset. You're supposed to have an adult there, not a petulant child who lacks impulse control and doesn't understand anything. Why would you ever want a president like that? Just so you can get what you want? But that's not what this process is. It cannot be a slave to desire or a slave to the ego. It cannot be that. We have to transcend and transmute into spirit and have spirit say, no, 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 no. That's not what this is about. And so we have a chance with shifting from Kata Draconis and endings to now, yesterday, and to new beginnings here with Caput. We have a chance, even no matter what, that guy in the Senate wants, or his minions. We have a chance to go in another direction here. We need to take that. We need to use spirit to make that happen. So, anyway, I think that's enough. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's going to be an interesting week, I think. 2 more days of this, and because I just do this Monday through Thursday. So we'll see you tomorrow, and the next day come back, and we'll see how things are going and see if we're going to keep on this same direction or path that the tarot deck seems to be, and the runes as well, seem to be telling us that we're on. This is a time of great change. This is a time of great awareness. And we have to get on board with it. We have to allow for it. We have to consider it in a way that's dispassionate and not from the standpoint of ego and not from the standpoint of grievance or some weird perception of, oh, I'm being harmed when you're not. No, Democrats aren't there to take your guns. We have guns too. See how easy that is? Transmuted into truth, not real. Stop it. We're not your enemy. We never were. We're your family, just as you're ours. Okay, and that's really what we're talking about here. We need to remember that, and we need to make sure that the family is based on a firm foundation that's based on truth and justice and the Constitution in this country, and not based on the desires of somebody to go enriching himself at the expense of everyone else. It's like, ooh, what an opportunity to become president. Look at all the money I can make. Yeah, that's what's happening at our expense. Just think about how much it's costing us to let him go golfing. All the money. They won't tell us how much the Secret Service bill is. There's a reason for that. They don't want you to know. It's like when the gambler in your family, you have a gambler, right? There's no money to pay the rent. They don't want you to know. But there's no money to pay the rent, right? That's what we have here. We can't do that. That's not what this office is about. It's a sacred trust that we put in this person, whoever holds it. And he's violated every single day he's been there. And that's the truth. So live in truth. Build anew, together, with your family. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot for coming by. Check out the blog over at I'mSteppingAside.com. Lots of fun things there. Correspondences aren't up yet for today, but they will. I'm going to get more diligent on doing that every day because it does include the astrological forecast. It's just that it's for people who work magic mostly, but there's lots of things that you can glean from it if you don't. So you can get some information about what your day is going to be like from the top part at least. And then you can look at the kinds of things witches and magicians consider when they're working magic on any particular day on the bottom part. So in any event, at the bottom also, you can sign up for the newsletter, do that. Also, my links underneath the video here, when you click on show more, there's all those links I have. Some of them are affiliate links, but some of them are just where to find me. And also there's a newsletter one in there. So you can access it that way. All you do is you click on that, it's going to take you to the website, and then you're going to look at the newsletter post, and down at the bottom, you're going to put your email in it. Click send, and then right now it's happening on Sundays. It might switch to every other Sunday. I'll see how it goes. Garden season's coming soon, and I may not have the time to do it every single week, but I will do it at least twice a month. And so lots of new things in that as well. Also, if you like, you can follow me over on Patreon. That is a paid site. So lots of stuff there that you can see for free, but there's going to be things on there that you won't unless you sign up for a tier. So I do release them at some point, but the videos and all of that and the posts at some point, they get released to the public. But if you want a first crack at everything, then sign up for a tier over on Patreon. So in any event, thanks so much again for stopping by. We'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.